We are Elias and Taru, and we are first-time van builders. Last spring, we bought this 2018 Volkswagen Crafter. It's almost 7 meters long and just under 3 meters high, with almost 2 meters of standing height inside. The van was in a really good condition when we bought it. It's a front-wheel drive, which we are hoping won't be a problem when we eventually take it on some rougher and more remote roads. But before we could start building, we first had to figure out what we actually wanted to build. I actually started planning our camper van long before we even bought the van. I spent a lot of time thinking about how we wanted to use the space and eventually started turning those ideas into actual floor plans using SketchUp. We wanted to have a fixed bed at the back with enough storage underneath for our bikes. We also wanted a bathroom with a shower as well as spacious kitchen and a dining area. And since we both wanted to work remotely while traveling, having a comfortable space to work was really important too. And of course, getting all of this to fit into one van was easier said than done. I went through countless different layouts, moving walls, furniture and storage around, trying to find the best possible use of the space. The first plans looked quite different from the final result, but this is where we started figuring things out. One of the first things we changed was the tires. We swapped the original tires for OG Ryan tires, giving the van a much more rugged look. It's still a front-wheel drive, but at least now it looks like it could handle a proper adventure. We're hoping they'll give us a little more confidence when heading onto rougher roads. The license plate was held on with cheap ties, so we thought it was time for a sprinkling behind it. With the layout planned, it was time to give the van a little clean before getting started. We swept out the dirt and rubbish and removed the tape from the walls that we had used while planning the layout. Once everything was cleared out, we could finally start working on the inside. We started with the walls. There were screws everywhere, and when I say everywhere, I mean we kept finding more screws. The bottom edges were also sealed shut, so getting the panels loose wasn't quite as straightforward as we had hoped. Elias let me help with the screws, but of course he had to show me how to do it first, just in case I didn't know. Eventually, Elias realized I could actually handle the tools. Meanwhile, he was having a pretty emotional goodbye with the wall. Once we got some of the wall panels off, we found this material underneath. It looked like some kind of sound insulation, but we had no idea how much it was actually doing. By this point, the screws were starting to test my patience. Elias filmed me on his phone, and I think my face says pretty much everything. We didn't get everything on camera because we eventually ran out of storage, but after a lot of screws, we finally had the walls off. And then came the floor, which turned out to be the biggest challenge of the whole demolition. The screws alone took us 2 days, and once they were finally out, we still had a completely stuck floor to deal with. The edges were sealed shut too, so we had to cut through all of that before we could even try to lift it. We tried pulling it up by hand first, and of course, that didn't work. We're not professionals, and our collection of tools isn't exactly professional either, so we had to improvise. We were using shovels to try and pry the floor loose. And somehow, that actually started working. The back section finally started coming up, so we were feeling pretty good about it. The front section had other plans. It was stuck even harder, and that one piece took us another couple of days to get out. By the end, we had spent around 4 to 5 days just getting the floor out. We didn't even bother filming much of the last part. At that point, we were more than ready to be done with it. But eventually, the last piece came loose. We finished up by removing the panels from the side door. After about a week of taking things apart, the van was finally stripped down. Now we could see how well our plans would actually work in the space we had. And from here, things were about to get interesting. So welcome along for the ride.